I'm here this afternoon with David Barton of Wall Builders. David, it's a thrill to have you in our community. Thank you for coming.
It's great to be back. I always love being here.
Yeah, San Angelo is we love you and glad you like our community.
It's my kind of people, salt of the earth people. I'm
Yeah.
a cowboy. I'm from Central.
I see your
North Central.
cowboy hat back over here.
This is my kind of people. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, we're delighted to have you here. The world's really changing, and we're discovering that a lot of things aren't in our textbooks anymore.
Yeah.
Even when you and I were in school, things had already been removed, which we didn't know. What's your pulse on what's going on, and what do we need to do to turn things around?
Well, it's back to knowledge, but it's like what kind of knowledge? Let me just give an example. For Christians, about 72 to 75% of the nation says they're Christians. About 28 to 29% of the nation says, I'm an evangelical Christian, depending on which poll you look at. And an evangelical is considered to be someone who has a life-changing experience with Jesus, and they use the Bible as the base of their life. Only problem is, only 3% of American Christians today have ever read through the Bible from cover to cover. So we've got 97% of Christians that don't even know what's in the Bible. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
We'll jump to the country a little bit and say, well, the problem we have there is, in the last election, 70% of voters did not know the Constitution was the supreme law of the land. And so not to know that, that's a problem. And then we go a little further and find that 62% of Americans can't name the three branches of government. Now, it's kind of hard to have separation of powers and keep the courts from becoming the super legislature if you don't know what the branch is. And grab this, 48% of elected officials can't name the three branches of government.
Oh, no.
48% of the elected officials can't name the three branches. So what happens is, if you don't know knowledge like the Bible, or like the Constitution, or if you don't know history, which is why we're seeing all the statues coming out. People who knew their history, they wouldn't be taking statues down. They would use them to teach.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what you've got in Israel, or even Germany. I mean, Germany, they still got Hitler's headquarters and Hitler's bunker and all this, and they teach about it, and you learn lessons from the bad part of your history. And Germany is one of the most anti-Nazi, neo-Nazi nations in Europe because they know their history.
Yes.
Well, see, if we knew our history, we wouldn't be tearing statues down. We'd be saying, see that right there? Let me tell you what that represents, and let me tell you why we don't want to go there. It's a whole different thing. So not knowing history, man, we're just trying to take away everything we disagree with, and that's really dangerous for a nation because it all depends on who's in power and what they want to take away, and you just don't want to go there.
Well, and as you were saying, the Constitution, if you don't understand the Constitution, then you don't understand how Sharia law and the Constitution cannot exist together. And we're seeing more and more of that being pushed into our society here in the States.
Yeah, we are. There's now nearly 40 courts across the United States that have used Sharia law in the court, American courts. Texas, fortunately, passed the ALEC law, the American Law for American Courts. So in Texas, we're not going to be recognized as Sharia, although there are Sharia courts in Texas. There's one up north central Texas. So that's an issue that has to be dealt with. And if you, as a matter of fact, there's a group called Faith Leaders of America, and they're made up of Jews and Christians, say, you know, we love religious liberty, we love religious tolerance and pluralism, which is why we're against Sharia. Because you just had about 500 Christian ministers come out and say, hey, we think Sharia is a great deal. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Do you not know that Sharia does not allow religious choice and toleration? There's only one. We'll see, because we love the Constitution, because we love religious freedom, religious choice, we think Sharia is a bad deal. But a lot of people don't even know that.
Yeah, the interfaith movement is moving across our country, and a lot of pastors think, oh, that just means churches working together. No, not hardly.
No. It means churches denying their theology and coming to something that is basically what we would call Sharia supremacists. That interfaith dialogue they have, they have written in their own writings that the Sharia guys have written on the writings that it's a bridge to bring them to us, not for us to go to them. So it's a one-way bridge, that kind of interfaith dialogue. It's not let's all understand each other, because they still don't like having Jews as part of those groups, you know, because that's one of the groups they want to get rid of.
Yes.
And it's just not an interfaith dialogue. It sounds good to us, and we want to appear tolerant, so we jump and take their bridge to their place. No, not a good place to go.
David, what do you think we need to do? How do we address this issue and stop this tidal wave that seems to be pouring over us, where we're losing our foundation?
Well, a lot of the reason we're losing our foundations is, quite frankly, because we're letting it happen. And just give you a good example. Most Christians who are Bible believing, the culture would call them conservative. I don't have to call myself conservative, but if I say, you know, I'm pro-life, I think marriage between a man and a woman, I think the Ten Commandments is a good code for society. I think it's good to have it in our schools. And at that point, they would say, you're a right-wing conservative. So if being a Bible believer means I'm a conservative. It's interesting to me that in the 50 states of the United States, when you look at the groups that are called conservative, moderate, and liberal, there's only 3 states in the United States where liberals outnumber conservatives. Only 3. Now, if you watch the news, you would think it was about 49 out of 50. As it is, in most states, conservatives outnumber liberals by a margin of 2 to 1. But what we found in polling is conservatives are the least likely to speak about what they believe. Number one, they're going to get their brains beat in if they do.
Yeah.
And number two, they don't like to talk about something unless they feel like they've mastered it. Now, liberals and moderates will give you their opinion at any point in time, whether it makes sense or not. They're going to tell you, our guy, well, I don't know, I need to think that through. I don't believe that, but I don't know how to express it.
Yeah.
And so what happens is our guys sit on the sideline, and therefore all the noise level would make you think that we're really on this radical side, and we're not.
Yeah.
And so polling-wise, we're all in healthy shape, but we need to do what Song of Solomon 8:13 says, which is, it says, your friends listen to your voice, so speak. I mean, that's really what we need. I mean, we got platform, everybody's got social media, some kind, Facebook, something. We need to be speaking and having a pushback. I don't care if you make the ABC, NBC, Fox News, do it in your group, and that's how you win, coming back from that group.
Yeah. Are you seeing any pushback, any change going on in our nation as you travel?
Oh yeah, no question about it. For example, this year we have a network of several hundred legislators, and we work with those guys half for years. We have a conference every year, bring the guys together, look at things in the culture. And this year, the legislator said, you know, we need to protect religious liberty. And so far this year, there have been over 31 religious liberty laws passed in the United States. There's several sitting on governor's desk waiting to be signed, so it'll be higher. Last year, in the entire year, there were only 4 laws passed. So we jumped from 4 to 30, maybe 30, 31, 35, 36. Matter of fact, Arkansas just passed a law, not going to be challenged in court as far as we know, and that law says every single public school classroom in Arkansas has to prominently display "In God We Trust" on the side of the wall. Government buildings, really? Yeah, that's a real simple thing. It's completely legal. As a matter of fact, for that matter, most folks don't have a clue that right now there's 200,000 students that have been through a course in 1,200 schools on the Bible in public schools, where the Bible is the textbook that you use, and you get credit for the course. Actually, in Texas, we have a law that says if 15 students go to the school leadership and say, we want a Bible course in our schools, school leadership can't say no. They have to do it by state law in Texas.
Wonderful.
So there's all these great laws out there people don't know about. Yeah, there's a lot of pushback going on, and we need to be more vocal about our beliefs, and they are the beliefs that have made America the greatest nation in the world. No use giving them up just because people get loud-mouthed on the other side.
Why do you think people have become quiet and not speaking out about their beliefs?
Well, this is the first time probably in maybe 100, 120, 130 years, you have to go back in the 1830s and 40s maybe, where it really cost you to speak out as a Christian. At that point, if an abolitionist minister spoke out like Elijah Lovejoy did in 1837, he gets shot, killed, and they burn the place down over him. We're not at that point, but now you will get fired, like the fire chief in Atlanta. You know, you're going to lose your job, like the health worker. All these guys, if you say what you believe, at Obama's second inauguration, Louis Giglio was not allowed to offer prayer because 20 years earlier he'd said marriage should be between a man and a woman. You know, so now saying what you believe comes with a price tag. There's a case at the U.S. Supreme Court right now that the briefs were due this week. It's called Masterpiece Case, but it's Jack Phillips out of Colorado who is facing jail time because he said, you know what, my Christian faith won't let me participate myself in a homosexual wedding. Don't mind doing a cake, and you guys can have the cake, but I'm not going to come to your place and do it for you at your place. He's looking at jail time for standing up
and that's
for
crazy.
biblical belief. It's crazy.
Crazy.
But that's at the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yes.
And then you have the Kleins in Oregon,
Yeah.
$135,000, Barron Stutzman in Washington State. It's all over the nation.
Yeah.
So we haven't had a period of time where that it costs you like this. And a lot of folks just don't have the backbone, and they need to develop it. Right? We're
Been a
told-
lot of spinectomies lately.
we need some spinal translate.
Yeah.
And, Proverbs 28:1 says, the righteous are bold as a lion. Well, if you're not bold, check whether you're righteous or not. Because if you're righteous, you are bold as a lion. If you're timid, you better do a spiritual checkup.
I think that's a perfect place to end. And that's a good word for people to give some thought to. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Looking forward to your event this evening.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Uh-huh.